After making it this far, you've probably learned a lot about franchises. So let's talk about the process you're going to follow in order to locate and evaluate potential franchise opportunities. Before we get into my process, let's talk about the process that people go through who don't use a franchise consultant. Now, I'll tell you, there are probably about 3,000 franchises in the United States, and most people don't know that. So in order to narrow things down to things that they might want to do, they'll start looking at books or magazines or top 10 or 15 lists about what the best franchises are at that particular moment. Some things they don't know when they look at those lists is, one, who did the evaluation on those franchises? What was the criteria? The second thing they don't know is, are those franchises going to be a good fit for them? Do they match their goals, their skills, their budget, their expectations? Quite frankly, most of the people that I've worked with who have started off looking at lists of top franchises end up buying franchises that they've never heard of before, that are not on one of these top 10 or 15 lists, because their goals and expectations don't match up with what the franchise is looking for. This is the real advantage of working with someone like myself, a franchise consultant. What I'm going to be able to do is to learn more about your goals, your skills, your budget, and expectations, and then match those with franchises that I've worked with for years that are looking for people with those particular attributes and characteristics. Ultimately, what this is doing is you're getting industry expertise with the franchise consultant, and you're also getting someone to do a lot of the legwork for you. So you don't have to go through and evaluate 15, 20, 30, 50 different franchises, hoping you'll find something that's a great fit. Let us go off and find something that works for you. We'll talk to you about why we think it does, and we'll help you explore and validate that franchise to give you the greatest chance of hitting your goals in any business that you buy. So let me take you through the various steps of the process. The first step is you need to contact me. Let me know you're interested in having a discussion. The second step is I'm going to ask you to fill out a questionnaire. Take you 15, 20 minutes, and I'm just gathering some basic information about you so I get to know you a little bit better. The next step is we're going to set up a 45 to 60 minute call where I really want to dig into the expectations, the goals, the budget, the skills that you're bringing to the table and things that you're looking to accomplish. I'm going to then go off and search through these opportunities for you that I work with. I'm then going to take this information, look at the opportunities that I work with, talk to those franchisors about you and if you might be a good fit, and then present them to you on the next call. I would ask you to choose 2 or 3 franchises from that list and begin speaking with them. What I'll do is I'll connect you with the franchise companies. I have particular contacts at each one, and I'm going to be working with you throughout the process to make sure you're not skipping any steps and you're asking the right people the right questions at the right time. When you're introduced to the franchise company, they're going to set up a series of calls with you. They're going to take you through their systems, their brand, their franchise disclosure document, marketing, sales, and whatever else is important for you to know in your decision-making process. In the next step, and this is one of my favorite parts of the franchising process, is that you as a potential franchisee get to speak with as many existing franchise owners as you'd like. Now, you think to yourself, well, franchises don't want me to do that. They'll just give me 2 or 3 that they think will be very positive about them. No, they can't do that. By law, you are permitted to speak with as many of the existing franchise owners and even those who may have left the system for any reason during the course of this process. The goal here is really to find out in a deeper level if you're a good fit for this franchise, both from a business perspective and a cultural perspective. When you're talking to these franchise owners, you'll be talking to those who are successful and you'll be talking to those who struggle. And quite frankly, I'd look to talk with both of them. What you're trying to understand is, are you more like the group that's successful, or are you more like the group that struggles? If you're like the group that's successful, if you find the personality and your characteristics and attributes line up, that's a franchise you probably want to investigate further because it's been built for people like you. If you find that you're more like the people who struggle, my advice is, I don't care how much you love what the business does, run away. Because if you get into a business where you're going to be like owners who struggle, you're starting with a handicap that's very difficult to overcome. During your investigation process, one of the things that a franchise must provide you is something called a franchise disclosure document. And you'll hear it referred to by its initials, FDD. What a franchise disclosure document is essentially a prospectus. that the franchise is required to publish at least once per year with a whole host of information that they are required by law to present to any potential franchise owner. And it's a big legal document in most cases. But there's some really key points that you want to look at in this. The background of the franchise, the executives who run the franchise and what they've done, their business backgrounds for the past 10 years. Has the franchise been in bankruptcy in any way, shape, or form for the past 10 years? Has the franchise been involved with lawsuits with the franchisees or the franchisees against the franchisor for the past 10 years? If there are legal actions going one way or the other, if it is a completed action, the outcome of that lawsuit must be outlined in the franchise disclosure document. If it's an existing lawsuit, it must be up to date and what the current status is of that case. Some other major points you'll find in the FDD are a detailed outline as to how much the franchise is going to cost, a list of all franchise owners and their existing contact information, a list of past franchise owners and their last known contact information, as well as a sample contract and obligations that you have as a franchisee and the company has as a franchisor. Ultimately, this is something you're going to want a legal review of before you sign this document. There are some people who will go through and buy a franchise without having the FDD and potential contract reviewed by knowledgeable legal people. I would never suggest you do that. In fact, I will give you names of franchise attorneys, people who understand what franchise law is all about. They'll be able to go through that document, and essentially they'll end up charging you in most cases much less than a business attorney, because whereas a business attorney will read this 100, 200 page document word for word, the franchise attorney is going to be able to go through, understand where the boilerplate is, and find out where the red flags for a potential franchisee might be. To me, this is the most important thing you can do before committing to a franchise. Make sure you get competent legal review and, quite frankly, take their advice. Finally, I think another one of the big questions that people come up with is, how do I pay for this? I have many people asking me if they need to use their own money, or is it okay with the franchise if they borrow money? And if they borrow money, does it matter where it's from? Well, quite frankly, no. The franchise is looking for people who have enough money to buy the business, support the business, but also support themselves while they're growing the business. Now, options you can use for this, again, you can use all of your own money. It could be cash in the bank. You could get an SBA loan. You could do a home refinance. If you're seeking an SBA loan, let me just point out one thing. When someone goes to buy a business, the bank will usually look at the business and will look at the individual. Is the business a valid business model? And is the person who's asking to borrow money, are they credit worthy? Many franchises belong to what's called an SBA registry. And essentially what they do is they go to get pre-approved on their business models with the SBA. So when you go to an SBA lender and you say, I'm interested in buying franchise XYZ, they can look it up on the list, and if franchise XYZ is there, they'll already have approved that as a business model. So the only thing they really need to look at approving is your credit worthiness. One of the things that people really don't know about, though, is the ability to use your IRA to pay for a franchise. This was enacted back in the 1970s, 1980s during tax reform. And what it really allowed people to do is to take money from their IRA, move it to another IRA account, and use that money to buy the franchise. So in a sense, it just becomes another holding along with any other stocks or bonds you might have. So you're not going to end up with early withdrawal fees or having to pay taxes on that amount because, again, it's never leaving a retirement plan. This is an option that is a surprise to some people. Some people use it, some people don't. But a lot of people at least want to understand what the option is because they really want to understand all of the options they have financially to buy a business. And ultimately, when they're doing that, they can make the one that makes the most financial sense to them. I really hope that that was helpful. And if any of the information that I provided generated a spark and you'd say, I'd like to know more about a franchise specifically or franchising in general or whether it's a good fit for you, click on the link below. Schedule a time. Let's talk. My services are totally free to you as I'm paid by the franchise companies to help them find people that are a great fit for their system. I'm not going to try and sell you a franchise. I'm not going to try to push a specific franchise on you. I want to understand what you're thinking about, why you would want to move out of the situation you're in now and look at franchise. If this sounds like you, click the link below. Let's set up a call. Can't wait to hear from you.